What's up, Steelers fans? I'm Dom Farrow. This is another edition of Turf Watch here on the Arthur Moats YouTube channel. And today, the Pittsburgh Steelers are 4-2. They are tied for first place in the AFC North. They just put up 30 points for the first time since before Matt Canada was a coordinator. And we're moving on from our quarterback. That's right. It looks as if Russell Wilson will be the starter in Week 7 versus the Jets on Sunday Night Football. And I have some thoughts about it. Obviously, I'm very excited to see what Russell Wilson can do. From day one, he was brought in here to be the starter. There's no doubt about that. But I think what Justin Fields has done and how he's progressed so far this season, I'm just a little bit disappointed to see that he's going back to the bench. After last week's game, I basically had two notes. One of them, Naji's best performance of his career, potentially. He looked like an animal, really running the ball great. He's been really good in the passing game this year, but just to see him being able to run the ball was really good. And after Naji's performance, it just made me kind of reevaluate, take a step back, and think about what we've got here. This guy is only in his fourth year. He's had over 1,000 yards rushing every single season. He's had over 5 touchdowns every single season. And for some reason, most of the time, I just see Naji Harris hate. It made me think of another running back who maybe came in the league with high expectations and maybe didn't live up to them right away, but eventually became one of the best running backs in the NFL. And I'm talking about Derrick Henry. He played 15 games this rookie season, 16 games his sophomore year, 490 yards that rookie year. Second year in the league, he had 744 yards. Naji Harris came into the year 1,200 yards of rushing on 307 carries. He also added 74 catches for 467 yards and 3 touchdowns. Eventually, Derrick Henry became the greatest running back in the league, but that wasn't until his fifth season. Fourth season, he had 1,500 yards. Right now, Naji Harris is in his fourth season, and I think it's been his best season so far. But the fifth season, that was the 2000 year for Derrick Henry, and that's the year that we might not be seeing from Naji Harris on the Steelers. It might be for another team, but without picking up that fifth-year option, it's up in the air right now. And Derrick Henry is still dominating to this day. He's got a different build. He's been looking really good on this Baltimore Ravens offense. I was a little bit skeptical about that signing at first, but I think he's made their offense so much more dynamic. But that brings me back to Naji Harris. He just had his best game, possibly of his career, and we might not be seeing him in a Steelers uniform next year. I thought it was a mistake from the beginning. I still think it is. I think you're going to have to pay this guy a lot more because I think these performances are going to continue. With that being said, I do think Jaylen Warren adds a lot to this offense. I think if Justin Fields had Jaylen Warren for more of his starts as a Steeler, I think you could have seen more success. He just adds that level of getting plays that right now we don't really have on the Steelers offense. And getting back to Justin Fields, we talked about Naji Harris. My second note from this past game, this was right after the game, and I said you must stick with Fields. There's not a quarterback in the league who's 4-2, coming off a 19-point win, who's ever been benched. Fields was the entire offense for a majority of the game. And I stand by that. I don't think the Steelers win as big as they did if he wasn't in the game. Russell Wilson, I think they still win the game with him in there, but man, Justin Fields adds so much with his legs. I just don't think you're going to get with Russell Wilson. He's a mobile quarterback, but he's not quite as mobile as Justin Fields. There are so many times where there were design plays that would fall apart, and Justin Fields would take off. He'd get a first down. He saved the offense on multiple instances in this past game. I just have a hard time imagining that Russell Wilson will be able to do the same thing as him. Now, I do want to talk about some of the bad throws from Justin Fields, specifically a drive in the first half where he missed 3 straight, should have been easy completions. He missed them, though. That is something that I think Russell Wilson will be able to do. I think the Steelers saw that, and they thought that they have a better chance of winning with Russ than they do with Justin Fields. In my opinion, I don't think that's the case, but I trust this team more than I trust myself. All I'm doing is watching the game. They're in the ins and outs. This is their full-time life. This is their full-time gig. They're going to know what's better for this team. So I'm going to trust them with Russell Wilson. But, and I hope this isn't the case, but if things go bad with Russell Wilson, we're going to be hearing this conversation all year long. And that's the last thing I want to hear. Last year, I feel like we had the same thing with Kenny Pickett towards the end of the season. When Mason Rudolph stepped in, won a few games, threw for more passing yards and more touchdowns than Kenny Pickett did all season, but yet we still heard it every single week, and we still hear about Kenny Pickett to this day from Steelers fans. It's just a distraction. I don't think it's ever going to end. I think once you make the mistake to flip quarterbacks when you're 4-2, if things start going wrong, if you have one poor game, we're going to be hearing this nonstop. I think it's something that will distract the coaches. It's something that will distract the locker room. And overall, I don't think it gets the Steelers any more wins than they have if Justin Fields rolled through the rest of the season. That's just my thoughts on the whole matter. But we can talk about this weekend's game. The Jets signed Davante Adams, someone that a lot of Steelers fans thought that the team would be in the mix for. I was never completely sold on that one. I think Davante knew where he wanted to go, and especially for what they gave for him, I believe it was a third-round pick for a 32-year-old receiver. I understand that it's win-now mode, but I wouldn't have paid for it. Some other names that I've been hearing right now that the Steelers have missed out on Davante Adams, other receivers, I've heard Christian Kirk, I've heard Cortland Sutton, I've heard Tyler Lockett. None of those interest me. But one guy who does slightly interest me is a guy who we might be seeing this weekend, and that's Mike Williams. Now, Mike Williams is coming off an ACL tear from last season. He hasn't looked like himself at all so far, but there have been improvements each and every game. When Mike Williams was healthy, when he was with the Chargers playing with Justin Herbert, he was one of the best receivers in the league, a complete physical threat, something that I think the Steelers are severely lacking right now. I'd be more interested to see a Mike Williams off an ACL tear than I would want to see Cortland Sutton and Tyler Lockett. I just personally prefer Mike Williams here. It'd be an interesting name that I'd keep an eye out for in the next coming weeks. But this also brings me back to the Justin Fields point. He doesn't have any weapons. You have George Pickens out there who is jogging when he knows that the ball isn't going for him. And outside of that, Pat Freiermuth looked good. Roman Wilson has played in one game, didn't do a whole lot, but hopefully there's more there. I saw he's banged up again. We've got Scotty Miller, hasn't done a whole lot of anything. Van Jefferson, again, not much of anything. Calvin Austin, I see him getting open. The targets aren't quite there yet. The catches aren't quite there. He's looked good enough, but still, we're just missing an X factor. George Pickens, unfortunately, isn't it unless he has someone else who's just as dynamic on the other side. At least that's the way I view it. I think that the Steelers need another wide receiver here. But again, bringing me back to my original point that Justin Fields has no help. He has absolutely zero help at all. He was doing the thing on his own. And outside of things on the field, I've just been thoroughly, completely impressed with Justin Fields off the field, the way he talks with the media. He said this a few days ago. He said, I don't think I've played good enough, if I'm being real with you. If I'm being real with myself, I think if I did play well enough, I don't think there'd be any sort of who should be playing, who should not. I just love the accountability here from Fields. This is a guy who could easily be 6-0 right now. He's done pretty much everything he can do to give this team the best chances at winning, and he's taken this one on the chin, and he's taken accountability for his team when there's been a lot of mistakes all around. Even around the league, people were respecting this move from him. J.J. Watt even said, poised maturity class, hard not to be a fan. That's how I feel. I just think Justin Fields is a natural leader. He's a natural winner. And I just think he gives the Steelers a good chance of winning. I'm just still surprised about it. I really don't have a whole lot of words for it. I'm excited for this weekend's game at home. Sunday Night Football should be a great atmosphere, but it's going to be a little different with Russell Wilson. I think when he first comes out here, the crowd's going to go nuts. But if one thing goes wrong, you know how that crowd acts. You heard the Fire Matt Canada chants. You heard them booing Kenny Pickett. These guys, all they care about is winning. They don't care who it is. They don't care about the names. They care about winning football games. I saw this one tweet on Twitter. It said the Russell Wilson boos on Sunday night when he takes his third bad sack in the second quarter, about to hit like crazy. Obviously, it didn't say that. You can read it on your own, but this kind of leads me back to the Justin Fields thing. There were so many times when he was about to get sacked, he escaped the pocket, he turned it into a first down. I don't think Russell Wilson quite has that juice left in him. He will be getting sacked in this game. This offensive line is too young, too inexperienced. It's going to be a challenge for Russell Wilson and the Steelers this weekend, but I do think that they can pull it through and win this game. Coming into this game, the Pittsburgh Steelers are 1.5-point underdogs versus the Jets. Now, to my understanding, this line changed. Originally, the Steelers were favorites in this one. After the Davante Adams move, after the Justin Fields getting benched move, this line has changed, and the Steelers are now underdogs. Over-under of 38.5, another low one here. Probably going under if I know this team. If I know both these teams from what I've seen, this is an under game. But as far as the spread and who's the favorite, I don't agree with this one at all. I think the Steelers should be 1.5-point favorites in this one. There's not a reason in my head that the Jets should be favored in this one. They've looked very poor so far this season. Aaron Rodgers would look what some people would say washed. Allen Lazard's looked really good. I don't think Davante Adams does much in this game. He is supposed to play along with Mike Williams, but I don't think Davante Adams does much in this game. I'm interested to see if they have any numbers for Davante Adams in DraftKings. No numbers to bet on for Davante Adams on DraftKings right now for this game. He is expected to play, but some other receiving props, they are saying that Garrett Wilson will have over 50 yards in this game. I could see that happening. It depends. It depends on if Davante Adams, who's covering him. I haven't seen enough Garrett Wilson to confirm that he's the real deal. Someone who is the real deal, though, that's Breece Hall. Steelers have had challenges going against really good running backs so far this season, specifically Jonathan Taylor. That was a game where the Steelers should have won it. The defense didn't look great in that game. It was probably their worst performance of the season. This is another team where you're going to up against an elite running back. It might be hard for them to stop. With that being said, I think the Steelers cover the line in this one. I think they win the game. I think that Russell Wilson wins his first start as a Pittsburgh Steeler, and the Steelers move on to 5-2, and we're all happy. And we just say, you know what, Justin Fields is good, but maybe his future's, down the road. But we've got Russell Wilson right now. Hopefully he gives us the best shot to win a Super Bowl. And that's all that we can ask this team right now. So hopefully things keep on moving the way they are, and the Steelers pick up another win here on Sunday night at home. Make sure you come say what's up to me and Arthur in the FedEx Great Hall before the game, where he'll be interviewing a Steelers legend. So I hope to see you guys there, and go Steelers.